All right, what's going on, gang? So happy Saturday. I'm coming at you from outside of our fitness studio today because it's beautiful outside, and why spend the day inside when it's actually warm out in Western New York? Rare. So in a continuation with the little series that I started last week where I gave my top 5 exercises for the glutes, today I'm going to bring you my top 5 exercises for the back. You might see a little trend going here. If anybody can kind of guess what my next one is going to be for next week, comment down below. But these are going to be my top 5 exercises for the back, all regions of it, upper, middle, and lower. This is going to be done using minimal equipment. Some exercises are going to be body weight. A lot of them will be using this guy right here, nice little resistance band. So if you have one, that is incredibly helpful. You can use dumbbells for some of these exercises. However, I am not going to, just because I know not everybody has sets of dumbbells at home. They might not be heavy enough if you do. And stores straight up do not have them right now, which is super unfortunate. So if you do have alternate forms of resistance, certain exercises can be done using them, and I will mention which ones they are. So without further ado, let's get into this, my top 5 back exercises. Exercise number 1 is going to be variations on the row. Using a resistance band, again, this is one of those exercises that you can use either dumbbells or alternate forms of resistance for. I, again, will be using the band. Great way to go about this. All you need is a band and something you can hook it to. I am going to hook it onto this banister right here. So I'm going to have this about chest to shoulder height. Now when I say variations, there are multiple hand positions your hands can be in. I'm going to start off with a neutral grip. This is going to target kind of that middle area of your back, just your standard row. If you know me, I like to cross my handles over. I don't know if it actually evens out the resistance side by side or what, but it's the way I like to do things, so I will. So when you're standing, we're going to sink down, nice athletic stance, core is tight, shoulders rolled back, down, and in. Neutral grip means your palms are facing each other. What you're going to do is draw your elbows back, feeling like you're squeezing your armpits together. This is going to help to squeeze your lat muscles, if you're familiar with what they are. Shoulder blades drop back, shoulders draw back along with the elbows. And then you extend those arms fully back out. I'm gonna step back so I have a little bit more tension. Hopefully I'm not out of the screen. Again, you're gonna draw back, squeezing. Another cue I've heard is imagine squeezing an orange in your armpits. So if that helps, use that as a little visual. And extending those arms straight back out. What we're not doing here is drawing in, snapping the arms back out. We want to control back to straight. Really squeeze those back muscles as those elbows pull in. Something we're also not doing is letting your shoulders round forward, collapsing your chest in. That is going to put all the tension in the neck and your traps. So you're not going to be engaging your back muscles like you want to. Now, another way you can change this exercise up is by changing your hand position. One is going to be a high row. In this case, our knuckles are facing upwards, a nice pronated grip, similar stance. This time, you're going to pull those elbows nice and wide, right about in line with shoulders. And same deal, you're going to extend those arms slowly back out to your starting position. Elbows in line with shoulders. Shoulders stay down and away from the ears. What a lot of people tend to do is when they have their elbows high, they elevate their shoulders at the same time, and you absolutely do not want to do this. Again, that is going to put a lot of tension in the neck. You're going to take all that tension out of the upper back, out of the rear delts, and start to feel pain in places you do not want to. So, yes, you can have your elbows high without shrugging that shoulder up. High row, another excellent variation, targeting more of that upper back. And variation 3, we're going to switch those hands to an underhand position. with a nice little underhand row. Same deal, elbows draw back, shoulders draw back, chest opens up, squeezing. You're gonna feel this a little bit more in that lower back area. Well, just above the low back, not the low back. Lower part of your lats. Squeezing as those elbows come in and extending those arms right straight back out. Again, you do not want to snap those bands back in when you're using these resistance bands or any form of resistance. You want to control it, do not let it control you. So that are 3 row variations. So next up, guys, is going to be a lat pull down. It's gonna kind of be like a high pulley row, just because it's not gonna be the straight up and down movement that you typically see with a lat pull down. But I have my band attached to a high mount. I know a lot of brands do sell door attachments where you can kind of hook your resistance band in the top of a door. So that's always an option, or you can just kind of loop it over a door and see how it works. Or if you have some sort of high attachment, any high attachment, that works. So I'm gonna give you 2 pull down variations. One is gonna be a play on your basic wide pull down. So you're gonna be seated on the ground, lean back ever so slightly. So if you wanna be a little more upright, you can. I like to have a very slight lean back. And your knuckles are gonna face towards you. There's space between the ears and the shoulders. You're gonna draw your elbows down so they're reaching towards your ribs, squeezing those lats, and extending those arms right back to straight. Elbows tuck in. Imagine you're attempting to touch those elbows together behind your back. They're just reaching in that general direction. Of course, they're not going back that far. And then extending those arms right straight back down. Back to straight. They're not going down. So as we go down, elbows tuck, squeezing those lats, and extending back up. Variation number 2 is going to be an underhand pull down. Very much like a row. Your palms are going to be facing towards you, sitting yourself up nice and tall. This time you're going to draw our elbows towards our ribs, squeezing them at the bottom, and extending those arms right back to straight. Again, those shoulders stay down and away from the ears. Squeeze right here, and extending those arms right straight back out. Again, with that underhand variation, try not to let that snap and hurt me. You're gonna kind of feel it more in the low back area, kind of just beneath the bottom of the rib cage. So it's just gonna be targeting a different area of your back. These are very subtle ways you can change up certain exercises if you do per se get bored with a certain exercise. Not that I think boredom should really be applied to most strength training. It might not be exciting, but that's okay. So those are 2 pull down variations, getting more of that kind of vertical pull action. And for exercise number 3, we have the Superman with a pull down. Yes, I'm gonna be laying belly down on this deck. You can technically kind of do a good morning and tuck those elbows in for that pull down as a standing option. But if you can get down on the ground, this is a relatively simple exercise to perform. You could technically do it belly down on a couch if you really felt like it. It might not be the most comfortable because cushions. But you are going to lay down, belly down, share the frame. Again, you are going to start with those arms extended out. You want to keep the neck neutral the whole way through. You are going to feel that squeeze in the low back and the glutes, lifting thighs and chest off the floor. Again, neck is neutral. Tuck those elbows in, extend back out. Lower down, that is 1 rep. Up, in, out, down. That's 2. Up, in, squeeze, out, and down. That's 3. Now you can absolutely do this without having that extra little pull down variation. I personally kind of like to add that in there just because it's going to get a little bit more lats going. This is an exercise that's going to be focusing more on the lower back, but it's always helpful to feel your lats. A lot of people don't know what exactly it feels like to feel their back working. So kind of feeling that squeeze right on top of the ribs, back of the ribs is right where you want to feel that. So that is our Superman with a pull down. So exercise number 4, you should remember from last week, it is a Romanian deadlift, or a good morning if you do not have resistance bands. The reason it works both for glutes and for low back is because, well, it works both. It's one of those great compound movements that's going to be working multiple muscles within one actual range of motion. So here, we're not only targeting our glutes, but since our hips are going to extend out, our low back is also going to be extended, and it's also going to be contributing to that hip extension. So therefore, it's going to be working as well. Deadlifts with dumbbells or other forms of resistance are also a wonderful option. So if you remember that setup from last week, you step on the band. If you want to increase that resistance, grab a little bit lower down on that band so you have a little bit less to work with. The tension's going to be greater. Feet are underneath the hips, shoulders rolled back down and in, back stays flat. You reach those hips backwards, reaching them towards the wall behind you. You're going to feel that nice tension down the back of the legs. And then press the hips back forward so you're standing up straight again. From the side. Reaching those hips back. As you can see, my back does not round upper or lower. Then I'm going to press those hips forward. What you don't want to do, especially if you have dumbbells, is start to round the back, upper or lower, because that is going to put a lot of extra tension on that low back that does not need to be there. Excessive back rounding to the point of pain is not going to be so good for you. So that is going to be exercise number 4. Our Romanian deadlift. And last up, we have one of my favorites, a band pull apart. If you've ever done a workout with me before here, I include these in a lot of workouts because they are absolutely one of my favorites. It's such a simple move. However, a lot of people do tend to do it wrong. And I want to show you the right way because I think it's a great way to target some of those weaker upper back muscles. A lot of times people kind of have that hunched over posture. A lot of people have seated jobs. A lot of people are just kind of hunching over all day because we spend a lot of time seated. So their chest collapse in, shoulders protract. We want to reverse that and bring yourself up nice and tall as much as you can. So for this, I like to kind of loop my band around my hands a little bit so I have a little bit less band kind of moving around that doesn't need to be. I like to have my hands held right about shoulder width apart. I like to also turn my pinkies outwards just ever so slightly. As you can see here from the side, my hands are about at shoulder height. And what I'm going to do is keep my arms straight, elbows straight the whole way through. Open up, bringing the band to my chest. My shoulders stay down and away from the ears. Then with control, I bring that band back to that same starting position, or just under that starting position. Sometimes we don't move through that full range of motion. So from the side, it's going to look a little bit like this. Open up, band to chest. With control, come right back in. Out and in. What we tend to see people do is kind of tricep pressing the band out. Your elbows do not move. Tricep extensions are a great tricep exercise, but they are not going to do anything for your back. So we want to make sure that we're actually working the muscles that we aim to work with that exercise. And something we also see people do a lot of the time is, again, elevating those shoulders. Really tightening up that neck. Please keep those shoulders down and away from the ears. If you ever feel yourself during the middle of a set starting to have those shoulders creep up, stop. Roll them back down and in, and reset. That is exercise number 5, our band pull apart. So that is it for today, friends. 5 exercises that I really enjoy doing for back. Back is probably one of the hardest muscle groups to work using minimal equipment. It is extremely helpful, like I said at the beginning, to have a band. It's a great form of resistance for that back. And it's even harder to do without any equipment at all. Dumbbells are definitely helpful, as are machines. Once we're able to get to gyms again, then we'll have an easier way to work our back, but it does not mean we are unable to at home. Back muscles do tend to be weak. As I said somewhere throughout this video, we do spend a lot of our day seated with our back rounded, chest gets tight, and these back muscles get weak. So what we want to do is strengthen them up and the other muscles of the posterior chain, including glutes like we did last week. So hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any questions at all, feel free to comment down below or in our Facebook group. And until next time, enjoy, stay safe.